Mike Thompson was known at Manhattan's elite fitness center simply as a successful personal trainer. At 48, a fitness expert helping wealthy clients reach their goals. Nobody knew he'd worked 12 years in Secret Service Presidential Protection Detail, until he recognized familiar danger signals in his clients' behavior. But before we dive into this incredible story, if you're new here, welcome to The Last Witness. We share the most amazing untold stories of ordinary people with extraordinary secrets, stories where someone becomes the final witness to incredible events. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest stories. And if you enjoy this story, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us continue bringing you these incredible tales. Now let's get back to Mike's story. Mike Thompson had been working as a personal trainer at Premier Fitness in Manhattan's Upper East Side for 6 years, building a client base of wealthy professionals, celebrities and business executives who valued both his expertise and his discretion. At 48, with the lean build and alert posture of someone who had maintained peak physical condition for decades, Mike appeared to be exactly what he was, a successful fitness professional who understood how to help high-achieving clients reach their health and fitness goals. What his clients didn't know was that Mike's exceptional ability to read body language, assess threats, and maintain situational awareness in crowded environments came from 12 years of service with the United States Secret Service, where he had been part of the Presidential Protection Detail, responsible for safeguarding the president and other high-level government officials. Mike's Secret Service career had involved some of the most sensitive and high-stakes protection assignments in federal law enforcement. He'd worked presidential campaigns, international summits, and state visits that required him to identify and neutralize potential threats while remaining invisible to the public and the protectees he was assigned to guard. Mike's specialty within the Secret Service had been advanced security planning and threat assessment. He'd been responsible for analyzing potential risks at public events, coordinating with local law enforcement agencies, and developing security protocols that could protect government officials from assassination attempts, terrorist attacks, and other forms of violence. Mike's training had included extensive instruction in recognizing the behavioral patterns and planning methods used by individuals who pose threats to government officials. He'd learned to identify surveillance activities, assess the credibility of verbal threats, and recognize the psychological profiles of people who might attempt violence against public figures. But Mike's Secret Service career had ended abruptly in 2017 when he suffered a career-ending injury during a training exercise. A torn ACL and associated knee damage left him unable to meet the physical demands of protection duty, despite his excellent performance record and specialized expertise. The transition from federal law enforcement to civilian life had been challenging. Mike's skills in threat assessment and protection were highly specialized and didn't translate easily to most civilian careers. After months of unsuccessful job searching, Mike decided to leverage his fitness expertise and communication skills to build a career as a personal trainer. Mike approached personal training with the same methodical attention to detail and client service focus that had characterized his Secret Service work. He developed comprehensive fitness programs tailored to each client's specific needs, maintained detailed records of their progress, and built relationships based on trust and confidentiality. Mike's Secret Service background, while not publicized, gave him credibility with high-profile clients who appreciated working with someone who understood the importance of privacy and professional boundaries. His client base included corporate executives, entertainment industry professionals, and wealthy individuals who valued discretion as much as fitness expertise. But Mike's law enforcement training also made him naturally observant of his clients' behavior, conversations, and personal security practices. He couldn't help but notice when clients seemed nervous about their personal safety, when they discussed business dealings that involved unusual risks, or when they exhibited behavioral patterns that suggested involvement in questionable activities. Most of the time, these observations were simply interesting insights into the lives of successful people who dealt with complex professional and personal pressures. Mike's wealthy clients often faced legitimate security concerns, business conflicts, and personal challenges that explained unusual behavior or heightened security awareness. Mike had never encountered clients whose behavior suggested involvement in serious criminal activities or threats to public safety. That changed in September 2023 when he began working with 2 new clients whose interaction patterns triggered every threat assessment instinct he'd developed during his Secret Service career. The first client was Richard Sterling, a 52-year-old investment banker who had requested conducted personal training sessions to improve his cardiovascular health and reduce stress. Sterling appeared to be a typical high-powered financial professional, well-dressed, articulate, and focused on maintaining his physical condition to handle the demands of his career. The second client was David Chen, a 45-year-old who described himself as a business consultant specializing in international corporate transactions. Chen was in excellent physical condition and seemed primarily interested in maintaining his fitness level rather than achieving specific training goals. Both Sterling and Chen had requested private training sessions during off-peak hours when the gym was less crowded. They paid in cash, provided minimal personal information, and seemed more concerned with privacy than with the specific details of their fitness programs. Individually, neither Sterling nor Chen exhibited behavior that would have raised red flags, but Mike's Secret Service training had taught him to look for patterns that might indicate coordinated activities, and he began noticing subtle indicators that the two men were working together despite claiming not to know each other. Sterling and Chen scheduled their training sessions at consecutive time slots, which allowed them to observe each other's activities without appearing to interact directly. They used similar vocabulary and speaking patterns when discussing their business activities. Most tellingly, they both exhibited the kind of hyper-vigilant behavior that Mike recognized from his experience with individuals involved in high-stakes or dangerous activities. Mike's threat assessment training kicked in. Two individuals who claimed not to know each other but exhibited coordinated behavior patterns and heightened security awareness were potentially planning activities that required careful coordination and operational security. Mike began paying closer attention to Sterling and Chen's conversations during their training sessions. What he heard was increasingly concerning. Sterling frequently discussed upcoming business transactions that would require careful timing and coordination with international partners. He mentioned the need to neutralize competitive threats and ensure that all stakeholders understood the consequences of non-compliance. Chen talked about his consulting projects in terms that sounded more like operational planning than business advice. He referenced target assessment, risk mitigation, and contingency protocols in ways that suggested involvement in activities that went beyond normal corporate consulting. Mike realized that Sterling and Chen were using business terminology to discuss what appeared to be some kind of coordinated operation that involved assessing targets, managing risks, and ensuring operational security. Mike's Secret Service experience had taught him to recognize coded language used by individuals planning activities they didn't want to discuss openly. Sterling and Chen's conversations had all the characteristics of operational planning conducted under the guise of business discussions, but Mike's most alarming discovery came during a training session in early October when Sterling received a phone call that he thought was private but that Mike could overhear from across the gym. "The timeline hasn't changed," Sterling said into his phone. "The target will be at the location as scheduled. We've confirmed security protocols and identified the optimal approach vector. Chen's team will handle perimeter control while we execute the primary objective." Mike felt his blood run cold. Sterling was using tactical terminology that was identical to language used in Secret Service operational planning. The reference to target, security protocols, and approach vector suggested planning for some kind of assault or attack against a person in a secured location. Mike's training told him that he was potentially witnessing planning for an assassination attempt. Mike faced a complex decision about how to proceed. His observations were based on overheard conversations and behavioral analysis rather than concrete evidence of criminal activity. Sterling and Chen hadn't explicitly discussed plans to harm anyone, and their business consulting cover stories could potentially explain their unusual terminology and coordination. But Mike's Secret Service experience had taught him that assassination plots often remained hidden until the moment of execution, and that seemingly innocent activities could be part of sophisticated operational planning designed to avoid detection. Mike decided to gather additional information before contacting authorities. Over the next 2 weeks, Mike carefully documented Sterling and Chen's conversations, behavioral patterns, and any details that might help identify their intended target or the location where they were planning their operation. Mike's investigation revealed disturbing additional information. Sterling and Chen had been conducting what appeared to be surveillance activities during their time at the gym, observing other clients and staff members in ways that suggested they were gathering intelligence about facility security and daily routines. More concerning, Mike discovered that both men had been asking subtle questions about the gym's client base, particularly about high-profile clients who might be recognizable public figures or business leaders. Mike realized that Sterling and Chen might be using their gym membership not just for operational planning, but for target selection. They were potentially identifying wealthy or prominent individuals who could be tracked through their fitness routines and daily schedules. Mike's breakthrough came when he overheard Chen discussing the senator's security detail during a phone conversation that he apparently thought was private. Chen mentioned that the target maintains a regular fitness schedule and that the approach window will be optimal during the Tuesday morning session. Mike realized that Sterling and Chen were planning an attack against a U.S. senator who was apparently a client at Premier Fitness or a similar facility.
The reference to Tuesday morning session suggested that the attack was planned for the near future. Mike contacted the Secret Service field office in New York and requested an urgent meeting with agents who specialized in threat assessment and VIP protection. Special Agent Lisa Martinez met with Mike at a secure location away from the gym. Agent Martinez had extensive experience investigating threats against government officials and immediately understood the significance of Mike's observations. Thompson, Agent Martinez said after reviewing Mike's documentation, "What you've observed appears to be consistent with advanced planning for an assassination attempt against a high-profile target. The terminology and coordination patterns you've identified match known methods used by professional assassination teams." Agent Martinez explained that the Secret Service had been monitoring increased chatter about potential threats against several government officials, but hadn't been able to identify specific plots or timing. Mike's insider access to the planning activities and his ability to recognize tactical terminology had provided crucial intelligence about a plot that might have remained hidden until execution. "We need your help to identify the specific target and gather evidence about the planned attack," Agent Martinez continued. "Your position gives you perfect access to monitor these individuals and document their activities without arousing suspicion." Mike agreed to cooperate with the Secret Service investigation while continuing his normal personal training duties. Over the next week, he worked with federal agents to monitor Sterling and Chen's activities and gather evidence about their assassination plot. The investigation moved quickly when Mike was able to confirm the identity of their target. During a training session, Sterling mentioned that the target will be at the Midtown location for his usual 9 a.m. appointment on Tuesday. Cross-referencing this information with Mike's knowledge of gym schedules and client patterns, agents were able to identify the target as Senator James Morrison, who maintained a regular fitness routine at a different premier fitness location in Midtown Manhattan. Senator Morrison was a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee who had been vocal in his criticism of foreign intelligence operations and corporate corruption. He would be a high-value target for individuals or organizations who wanted to silence his investigations or send a message to other government officials. Mike's evidence also revealed that Sterling and Chen were part of a larger network that included additional operatives positioned at Senator Morrison's office building, residence, and other locations he visited regularly. The assassination plot was sophisticated and well coordinated, with multiple contingency plans and escape routes. The Secret Service moved quickly to protect Senator Morrison and arrest the assassination team. On the Tuesday morning when the attack was scheduled, federal agents were positioned at the Midtown gym and arrested Sterling, Chen, and 3 additional operatives who had been waiting to execute the assassination. The investigation that followed revealed that the assassination plot was sponsored by a foreign intelligence service working in coordination with corporate interests that Senator Morrison's investigations threatened. The plot had been planned for months and would have been nearly impossible to detect without Mike's insider access to the operational planning discussions. Agent Martinez called Mike after the arrests to thank him for his contribution. Mr. Martinez called Mike after the arrests to thank him for his contribution. "Thompson, your Secret Service training and decision to investigate suspicious behavior prevented the assassination of a United States senator and exposed a foreign intelligence operation targeting American government officials. Your expertise in recognizing threat indicators was crucial for identifying this plot before it could be executed." Mike felt a familiar sense of satisfaction that he remembered from his Secret Service career. His protective instincts and training had once again been used to safeguard government officials from serious threats, even though he was now working in a completely different capacity. But Mike also realized that his experience had demonstrated the ongoing value of his Secret Service training in civilian contexts. The skills he developed for threat assessment and protection remained relevant for identifying dangers that others might miss.
Mike continued working as a personal trainer at Premier Fitness, but he also began providing security consulting services to high-profile clients who needed threat assessments and personal protection advice. His unique combination of fitness expertise and Secret Service experience made him valuable for clients who faced legitimate security concerns. Mike also worked more closely with federal law enforcement agencies, serving as a resource for threat assessment and providing training to other civilian professionals who might encounter suspicious activities in their work. But Mike's most important realization was that his commitment to protecting people hadn't ended when his Secret Service career ended. The same dedication to safeguarding others continued in his civilian career, just through different methods and in different contexts. On busy mornings at Premier Fitness, as Mike worked with clients to help them achieve their fitness goals, he often reflected on how his career transition from federal protection agent to personal trainer had evolved into a different form of public service. The skills he'd learned during 12 years of protecting government officials continued to serve the broader community's safety, just in a gym setting rather than at government events, and through observation of civilian clients rather than official threat assessments. Mike had learned that the most important protection often came not from official security operations, but from vigilant individuals who remained alert to threats and willing to use their specialized knowledge when they recognized danger. The last witness to his Secret Service career had become the first line of defense against those who would exploit civilian environments to plan attacks against government officials. It wasn't the protection career Mike had expected to continue after his injury, but it was the service his community and country needed him to provide, and that he'd learned was more than enough purpose for any protection professional, whether safeguarding the president or helping clients stay fit while watching for threats that others might miss. During quiet moments between training sessions, Mike sometimes allowed himself to appreciate the trust that his clients placed in him, not just to help them achieve their fitness goals, but to maintain the confidentiality and security that their high-profile lives required. Mike's gym had become a place where successful people could focus on their health and wellness without worrying about their personal security, knowing that someone with professional training was watching for the subtle signs that might indicate danger. Mike smiled as he prepared for his next training session, knowing that his Secret Service-trained eyes would continue scanning for behavioral patterns and threat indicators that could protect not just his clients, but anyone who might be targeted by those who would use civilian spaces to plan violence against public figures. The fitness center had become an unlikely venue for counterintelligence work, but Mike had learned that threats could emerge anywhere, and protection required vigilance in all contexts where people might be vulnerable. In the end, Mike's mission remained the same as it had been during his Secret Service career, protecting people from those who would harm them and ensuring that public figures could live their lives without fear of assassination or attack. The venue had changed from government events to a Manhattan gym, but the commitment to service and protection remained as strong as ever. Thank you for listening to this incredible story here on The Last Witness. If you enjoyed Mike's journey from Secret Service agent to personal trainer to assassination plot investigator and want to hear more amazing tales of ordinary people who become the final witnesses to extraordinary events, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you these untold stories that deserve to be heard. What did you think about Mike's decision to investigate his clients rather than immediately reporting his suspicions? Do you believe people with law enforcement backgrounds have special responsibilities to remain vigilant even in civilian careers? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing your thoughts on these stories. And remember, sometimes the most important protection happens not in official government security operations, but when trained professionals refuse to ignore the warning signs around them in everyday environments. Until next time, keep listening and keep witnessing the truth.